looks like we're doing all right ish.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know. My connection is fluctuating.
Yeah, the stream looks like it's lagging for me, but we'll see.
I have no idea. I wouldn't even I can't even. There's nothing I can do to fix it really. I'm working on it. Where is it? OBS. No, don't need this. All right.
Yeah, looks like there's no drops now.
Okay. All right. Well, we should be back.
So, yeah. Yeah. To reiterate before the drop went down, like
yeah.
How do you withhold meta information?
Yeah, and also I think it was Valkyrie 2000 said, could you define metagaming? So to me, metagaming is basically is players using their own knowledge, stuff that the character would not have to make decisions. So, for example, if a player is searching a room, right? If your players enter a room, and they say, "I want to search it for hidden doors," right? That's just an example. And you say, "Okay, roll me a perception check." Let's say the player rolls a 1. They know they rolled a 1, which means they know they failed. The character does not know they rolled a 1. The character does not know they failed the check. So as far as the character is aware, they searched as well as they could, and they did not find. There's nothing to find, right?
Yeah.
It also has to do obviously with with a lot of other things, the results on their rolls, knowledge checks and certain things. So what I like to do is on Roll20, because I have a Roll20 Pro subscription, I have an API script that lets me with a specific syntax, players can make rolls that only I see the results of. So when I ask them for a perception check, they roll their perception or their knowledge or their diplomacy and stuff, but they never see the result of the roll. The only thing they have to go on is the information that I give them, which means it's up to them to decide. Okay, so if they roll a perception check and I give them, give them a little bit of information, it's up to them to decide whether that's everything or whether there's still something to find. And can they justify continuing to search? Because or do they think they found everything, that kind of thing, and it's something players certainly have to get used to a little bit, but I think it's really, really kind of improved, because when you take that out of the hands of the players, right, and experience points is one of the things that I take away from players too. Like, I don't give out experience points in my game because I don't like the way I don't like the clock that it puts me on as a DM and a storyteller. So the result is that the players, the choices that they make and the decisions that they make is only informed by the information that their character would have.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time when you have someone that is trying to metagame as well, it's really easy to shut that shit down. Like it's if they hey, I quickly strike it with radiant damage, and you're like why would you do that? Or like, hey, I know there's something behind there, and you're like, no, you don't. Or they start replying as well, and you're like, dude, you're 30 feet away. You did not even hear that conversation, right? Like, it's up to you as a DM to just like immediately stop that so that they don't get into the habit of that. I find it a lot as well with streaming D&D. A lot of like viewers don't understand that. We had people yelling at someone in our session on Sunday because we thought we were facing hellhounds, and everyone in the chat was screaming at our bard like, use cure wounds or use healing touch on the dogs, and they're like, why isn't she doing that? And I was like, because the character doesn't know that.
Yeah,
fucking dingus. Like, it's a huge misconception for a lot of people that they have to apply all knowledge of D&D to every single move that they make.
Yeah.
And it's much less fun, I think. The second you like, if you're playing a dumb character, you make him dumb.
Yeah.
He doesn't know fuck all.
And like I said, with the hidden roles and stuff, like it's something my players, some of them have to get used to a little bit, but and I don't do it for all campaigns anymore, but I do it for some of them, and it's like it takes a little getting used to, but I think once it does, it allows them a little bit more freedom to just play their character, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about their stat block. They don't have to worry about how well they're doing on certain things. Like, you don't need to worry about how well, like, when you roll a perception check, like, you don't need to kind of look at it and be everyone like, he rolled a 1. Should we all also try and search because we know there's something to find. We just have, I think it's more fun for everyone because they can just focus on their character and the moment. Yeah, I know the stream is still buffering. That it's an issue on my end. It's not a lot I can do about it.
Okay. We got a couple minutes left on the show, so no worry.
Well, I got a ton of other questions, so I'm unfortunately not going to be able to get to all these tonight. But if you guys want, I will be happy to take all of these questions and answer them either on Twitter or on Discord later. Weigh in on them and all that good stuff. We're actually kind of coming up on the last couple minutes. So do you want to take one more quick question and then we'll
I like enhanced max question there.
You want to read it?
Sure. It says, as DMs, are you always looking for ways to challenge your players to the point that it can kill them? And if they die, do you offer a way to bring them back to life, or just leave it as game over for them? What do you do with that?
So I'm always looking for ways to provide challenge to my players, obviously, because without challenge, there really isn't a ton of like that. I think that's where the fun comes from. However, I don't necessarily think that every fight needs to be a fight to the death, or the players need to all be taxed to the point of death. I've had some great fights or some fights that the players came away being like, holy shit, we almost died there. That was a tough fight where no one took any damage,
Yeah.
Because it's all about perception, Yeah,
I find the longer they take to kill it, the more they're like, wow, man, that was tough.
Yeah.
And then later on, you're like, you're like, oh shit, we're okay. We all have 40 health still, so maybe.
Yeah. I had
go.
No, I was just gonna say I had a fight where they fought this demon thing that swooped in to attack them, and they instantly grappled its wings and pinned it to the ground, and were just beating on it until it died, and no one took a hit, but they came away from that fight being like, holy shit, that was close.
Yeah, that was the end of Ascendance. Actually, they finally fought this vampire king that they were hunting for a long time. And speaking of punishing players, they had killed an NPC not hours earlier that had been introduced to them. He had this hill giant friend that left. So halfway through this fight, the villain is about to monologue, and there's a giant hill giant running down the road that just kicks the villain and the cart that he's in. And it introduced to spectators a hill giant and the villain. They ended up they just grappled the villain and beat the shit out of him and resisted every check possible. But the spectators, with their paralyzing, with the paralyzing rays, with everything that happened there, and the villain mind controlling and charming the hill giant, even though they barely took any damage and it was really easy for them objectively, they were like, oh my god, that was it. That was definitely it.
So you can challenge players multiple ways in a fight. The simplest way is to just play against their weaknesses, right? For example, if you have a barbarian who is horrible against having to make will saves or wisdom saving throws in 5th edition, or against mind control, charm, and those kind of things, or illusions too. You can put them up against those, and you'll absolutely make challenge that, because if the fucking barbarian gets mind controlled, the party is gonna freak. But also you can challenge players in pure damage output or combat mechanics, or you can challenge them in a way that's more tactical, more cerebral. You can make a fight or a puzzle or a thing that, rather than just beat it to death, they may need to find maybe they need to find out how to open a weakness in this enemy before they can kill him, and those are all ways that you can challenge players. And I think there are certain fights in boss fights, I say that in quotes, that should be really, really challenging, that should tax players and should be built to really tax their resources and their tactics and, their ability to overcome things. But not every fight has to be like that, because if every fight is a knockdown, drag out to the death, then your game's going to get kind of tiring.
Yeah, for every 2-hour long combat session, you're going to have players that are tired of it for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, basically.
I absolutely love challenging players with mechanics, whether it be dice checks and strength checks and ability checks for doing X to get to X NPC, having them on a ridge that the players can't get up to, and they have to figure out what to do. Even if it's like a 3 health archer, you could just throw your sword and hit him, and he's dealing 5 damage a hit, but they won't. They're going to try and climb it, and it's going to have a high DC to climb up. Or the spectators, a low-level beholder with a paralyzing ray that freezes them for a couple of rounds until they make the save. And then they feel useless, right? And if 2 of them get paralyzed and it's only 2 of them left, or however many are left in the party, you've immediately turned the tide of the battle, and they can't do fuck all, and they're immediately terrified. So mechanics and conditions are huge.
There was a fight that I had a couple months ago with my home game where the party barbarian who deals most of the damage in the group, he got paralyzed. He failed a check against like a paralyzing song from the bard enemy, and then the bard enemy had this little gnome barbarian that he employed, and the gnome barbarian just grabbed our party's barbarian by the fucking hair and starts dragging him across the arena, and he can't do anything about it. And it's like every turn he fails his save, he gets dragged a little bit more. What's he getting dragged to? A fucking guillotine, right? It's like, every time he fails a check, he's like, oh shit, I'm getting, and everyone knows it. You get closer and closer to death. And, by the time he finally makes a save or someone finally jumps in to help him, like, he hasn't taken any damage, really. Nothing's physically happened to him, but, holy shit, is the party's, the tension and is their blood kind of,
they can feel it, right? Yeah, they can definitely feel it. Yeah, I love the idea of mechanics over damage to add difficulty, because that's when it really forces them out of their comfort zone. This is not an enemy that you can just whack and kill. You have to be smart about it.
Yeah,
and your character ain't smart. They're just gonna whack and kill.
Or you have to find a way. You can't just all be, oh, I'm over here fighting an enemy, I'm over here fighting an enemy, I'm over here. It's like, no, you may have a guy beating on you, but also your dude across the field is about to get his head chopped off. You gotta go save him, because who else is gonna do it? Yeah, definitely, man. Great. Some really, really good tips there. I think that's probably all we're going to have time for question-wise, because we're getting a little bit late, and I don't want to keep you guys around forever, but I guess we'll start wrapping things up. So seriously, once again, I want to say a big thank you to my friend Jay for hanging out with me, man, and answering questions and talking. And a big thanks to everyone in chat. I hope you guys had a good time. I know I certainly did. So I guess before we do some last minute announcements and stuff, Jay, do you want to tell everyone who's hanging out a little bit about yourself, where they can find you on the internet, and what you get up to? Anything like that?
We're currently doing some D&D campaigns over on my channel. So if you guys aren't following, the twitch.tv/Brotato and twitter.com/jbrotato. Those are pretty much the 2 known places to find me. Talk to me about D&D if you don't already follow me. Please tweet me and talk in my chat about D&D all the time, because that's all I ever want to talk about. That and relationships are my 2 favorite things to talk about. Let's go.
Absolutely.
And if I can mention it real quick, we are launching. You mentioned it a couple times. Our Ravenloft campaign in about 2 to 3 weeks called Forgotten Mists. That's Brad Wodo, who rated earlier. He's going to be DMing that, and it's his first time doing a horror setting in Ravenloft. So it's going to be really, really interesting. We'll see what's going on with that.
Yeah, I was in his chat, in his channel a little while ago, and he was talking about coming back on the show, but I didn't know, because that was before I knew he was doing a horror campaign. But since I've been kind of immersing myself in that, I think we're probably gonna have to sit down and talk a little bit about about doing that, because I'm sure he and I can kind of share some really cool stuff, and share ideas and merge into one.
We're all dead.
Ask my Rising Moon players. I'm horrible. Like the things in my brain should not be allowed to have to be told to other people.
Hey, that works for a horror campaign, right?
Oh yes, oh yes. But yeah, absolutely, guys. Go check out Jay's channel. The link is in chat, as Dice Thulu has been sharing with you. And also go check him out on Twitter. And a big thanks to him and all of his friends for coming by. Thank you, obviously, Brad, for the raid, and also all the other awesome dudes who came by and hosted. I love you faces. Before we bounce out of here, I just want to remind you guys once again, if you're not already following, if you enjoy the content, please hit that follow button and join us. We have live role-playing game content twice a week, Saturday and Sunday, with Writhing Moon, our open legend horror campaign, and Jade Regent, our D&D 5th edition campaign. I've also got